Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Maxwell Egan. It's nice to be here with you again. It's always a pleasure to be here. At the start of the show today, I'd like to put out a just a heartfelt feeling to all the people in St Andrews and Marysville and Kings Lake here in Australia who are suffering the horrific bushfires that are happening in my country at the moment. There has been probably over 200 people killed now. The last count that I heard was around 170. So I would like to give my best to all of the people that are suffering these losses and that are living in tent cities at the moment in this worst bushfire in my nation's history that has dwarfed Ash Wednesday to almost to insignificance. So I just wanted to say at the start of the show, folks, not meaning to start off on a bad depressed note, but I do feel very, very much for those people. Well, Chinese Emperor Quan Su, 4th century BC, he said, if you're thinking a year ahead, plant seeds. If you're thinking 10 years ahead, plant a tree. And if you're thinking 100 years ahead, educate the people. Now, I firmly believe that the future of our world does lie in the education of the people. Mass education on a global scale, if mankind is to survive. I think that education is one of man's greatest resources. Of course, it needs to be proper education, not what is presented in the schools today, but proper education in the realities about our world and in people's connection to themselves and to everybody else. I truly believe that the world needs to drastically rethink its approach to pretty well everything about our societies, about our past, about the direction we need to take to the future. Things have gotten incredibly bad since 9/11, and still more wars and further erosion of human rights is taking place on a daily basis in all countries of the world. In third world countries it's happening by violent and oppressive means, while in countries like yours and mine it's happening through more nefarious and ambiguous means that are in their own way no less oppressive, such as the gradual and subtle dismantling of various national constitutions and everyday rights of the people. The government of Australia is again pushing for its internet censorship bill that got squashed in December. The people basically wouldn't let them get it passed, and the ISPs wouldn't let them get it passed, so they're pushing for it again. So we're sort of looking forward to having Chinese internet in Australia. It seems that the more information gets out to people, the more they wish to curtail our freedoms. It's become very obvious that the societies that we've constructed for ourselves, the closed societies we've constructed for ourselves, are in virtually all ways dysfunctional. And I believe, as I said, the proper and complete global education is in truth the greatest resources that is available to aid in the continued survival on our planet. It's about the only thing that can help assist us in building a harmonious future. But some of these politicians, they of course don't want proper education. I mean, actually in Australia here, this is just demonstrative of the modern political mindset. In 2005, I think it was, on a television program, in an appalling and almost unfathomable lack of intelligence, compassion and reasoning, I personally heard the Australian Minister for Education, who at the time was Mr. Brendan Nelson, I believe. I heard this man actually comment that in his view, education is a privilege and not a right. Now just consider for a moment that this mental midget was actually in a position of power and was able to make decisions that affect our children on a daily basis while openly maintaining this type of unconscionable attitude. I mean, not only are most of these politicians profoundly stupid and obvious fools, but when their ego and positions of power is combined with the stark reality of their obviously intellectual inaptitude, it all compounds to make them very, very dangerous fools. And a minister blatantly announcing and promoting the concept that education should be given only to the privileged also spells a great danger for the future of our race, I believe. I truly believe proper and truthful education would dispel 90% of mankind's afflictions. The repression of knowledge and proper education, I believe, can be held solely responsible for the situation the world now faces. It seems that these people just they just train you in the wrong things. A quote comes to mind, actually, by Mary Croft, the woman who wrote the book that I have on my homepage, crowhouse.com, where Mary Croft says, I think, how does it go? She says, it seems the purpose of the so-called educational system is not to educate us to be free-thinking natural beings, but rather to distort what is really going on in the world, and also to convince us that we will be happy if we just get a good education in order to get a good job, in order to make lots of money, in order to buy as many worthless items as possible, and thereby become completely dependent upon them, and in order to create as much debt as possible, thereby enslaving us to the system even further. That seems to be what our education system is teaching us, folks. So I think it's very important to free yourself from this corrupt and blatantly criminal system. And there are a lot of things going on at the moment. We've had Obama make a complete reversal on all of his election promises, which of course we expected him to do. I mean, these people never keep their promises at all. I've often said that in order for a politician to actually be a successful politician, they have to be able to look normal, everyday, nice people in the eye, and they have to be able to tell them barefaced lies without a shred of remorse for the damage or the turmoil they may cause in these people's lives. And they have to be able to do it with a huge smile on their face, but with no remorse at all. They have to be completely bereft of conscience and guilt, and just be able to tell barefaced lies. That is a prerequisite. If you can't tell barefaced lies, then you will never be a successful politician in the world today. Now, Obama, of course, has announced that he's backed off on the reversal on secrets. He's allowing rendition and torture to continue. A lot of the things that he was very, very harshly critical of the Bush administration for, like Obama was harshly criticised the Bush administration's treatment of detainees in Guantanamo Bay and things like that, but now he basically says that he's just going to let it all go ahead. So really there's no change. If there is change, then it's just change for the worse, but it just seems to be more of the same. We've got to remember that Obama is, of course, George W. Bush's sixth cousin, so it's still all in the bloodline. Bush is, of course, the 13th cousin of Queen Elizabeth II in England, so it's all still the same bloodline. The same bloodline has been carrying through from ancient times, and they're still going at it. And I think I recall change was one of Bush's campaign mottos as well. After we had the Clinton fiasco, a lot of people voted for Bush because they wanted change. Funny how history repeats and people just don't seem to learn, isn't it? But there are drastic things happening. Codex Alimentarius is coming. I've been actually shocked at the amount of people that don't know about Codex Alimentarius now. A lot of people are preparing for martial law. A lot of people are getting ready to get up in arms and all this sort of stuff. But and people are protesting. People are wanting to become sovereign individuals, and all these things are good. But a lot of people aren't realising Codex Alimentarius and simply don't know about Codex Alimentarius. Now, Codex is absolutely insidious. Codex is like the trump card, because through Codex, these people can control food. Like the Codex issue is not really about controlling food that much. It's more about taking over and completely controlling the entire supplement industry and the food industry. It's a symptom. It's a manifestation of a much larger problem. And what's happening on planet Earth is that multinational corporations are now so large, they're just becoming more and more powerful than most of Earth's nations. And these multinational corporations have set up the World Trade Organization as the New World Government pretty well already, under their control. And they're controlling people through the use of food. Now, you're finding Codex Alimentarius labels on products in supermarket shelves now. I hear that there are people making a bit of noise about this in the United States. There are people making noise about this in Europe. But I was reading actually in the Bangkok Times, I think it was, this morning, and the farmers in Thailand, of all places, are up in arms because the government has just listed things like chili, turmeric and ginger, and they have branded them as hazardous toxins. Okay, ginger, which is a blood purifying root, a herb basically, has been listed as a toxin. Ginger is probably one of the healthiest things that you can put in your body, but because it affects the metabolism, it's classed as a toxin. And farmers are being refused the right to grow these things. They've actually they've listed 13 plants as hazardous substances, and they want to control production and commercialisation. And these plants that they've listed are widely used by farmers as alternatives for expensive and toxic chemicals and pesticides and herbicides and things. And this was approved under the 1992 Hazardous Substances Act